It was an ordinary Tuesday evening when Amelia boarded the 7 p.m. train back home. She worked a long shift at the hospital, and all she wanted was to sit by the window, listen to music, and enjoy the quiet ride through the city's outskirts. The weather was cool, and the sky glowed with the warm colors of sunset. It was a perfect, peaceful end to the day. As she found her seat by the window, she noticed the train was unusually full for this time of night. Strangers all around her sat quietly, their faces buried in their phones, books, or the occasional newspaper. Amelia sighed. She enjoyed the solitude of train rides, the gentle hum of the wheels on the track, the blur of lights rushing past the windows. This was her time to unwind. Just as she pulled out her headphones, she noticed an elderly man standing at the front of the car, scanning the passengers for an empty seat. He wore a long, dark overcoat, and his face looked weathered, as though he had seen many years of life, joy, and perhaps sorrow. He clutched a small, old suitcase in one hand and a cane in the other. Something about him seemed out of place, yet oddly familiar. To Amelia's surprise, the old man walked straight towards her and asked, "Is this seat taken?" She hesitated, unsure why this stranger had chosen her, out of all the empty seats around. "No, it's free," she replied, moving her bag aside. The man smiled gently and sat down next to her, carefully placing his small suitcase between his feet. His eyes, though old, sparkled with an unusual light. Amelia tried to refocus on her music, but something about the man unsettled her. He sat quietly, looking out the window as if he was waiting for something, perhaps for the right moment to speak. After a few minutes of silence, the old man turned to Amelia and asked softly, "Do you believe in fate?" The question caught her off guard. She wasn't sure how to respond. "Fate? I don't know. I suppose so," she mumbled, unsure why he was asking. The man chuckled softly. "You remind me of someone. A long time ago, I met a young woman on a train, just like this. She was about your age, lost in thought, much like you." Amelia raised her eyebrows, a little more curious now. "What happened?" she asked, leaning slightly towards him. The old man looked ahead as if seeing into the past. "That meeting, it changed my life. I was young, lost in my own world of worry and doubt. She was a stranger, but she gave me the advice that shaped the rest of my life." Amelia smiled, intrigued. "What did she tell you?" The man paused for a moment, staring out the window. "She told me something simple. Whatever happens, keep moving forward. Life is like this train. There's no going back, only ahead. Make peace with the past, embrace the present, and trust the journey." Amelia felt a chill run through her. The old man's words lingered in the air, resonating with something deep inside her. She had been struggling lately, overwhelmed with choices, unsure about her future, feeling stuck. It was as if this stranger had somehow seen straight into her heart. "I've been thinking about that a lot lately," Amelia admitted, surprising herself. "Life feels uncertain. Sometimes I'm not sure what direction to go." The old man turned to her, his eyes full of warmth and understanding. "It's natural to feel lost sometimes, but remember, every journey has its twists and turns. It's the choices we make that define the path ahead." Amelia nodded, lost in thought. The train continued to rattle along the tracks, its rhythmic hum now strangely comforting. She felt an odd sense of calm washing over her. This random encounter, this stranger, had given her a sense of clarity she hadn't expected. She didn't know why, but she felt like she had known him her entire life. As the train approached the next station, the old man slowly stood up, gripping his suitcase tightly. "This is my stop," he said, smiling at Amelia one last time. "Remember what I told you. Trust your journey and don't be afraid to keep moving forward." Amelia nodded, feeling grateful but strangely sad to see him go. "Thank you for everything," she said softly. The old man gave her a nod and stepped off the train, disappearing into the crowd. Amelia watched him until he was out of sight, then turned back to stare out the window, reflecting on their conversation. The train continued on its way, but something felt different. She couldn't quite explain it, but she felt lighter, as if a burden had been lifted from her shoulders. As the train reached her stop, Amelia gathered her things and stepped onto the platform. She glanced around, half expecting to see the old man again, but he was nowhere to be found. Shrugging, she started walking home, feeling an odd sense of peace. It wasn't until a few days later, while cleaning out her apartment, that Amelia stumbled upon an old journal. Curious, she opened it and flipped through the pages. To her astonishment, she found an entry dated over 20 years ago, written by her mother. It described a train ride she had taken as a young woman, where she met a kind stranger who had given her life-changing advice. Amelia's heart raced as she read the words her mother had written. Whatever happens, keep moving forward. Life is like this train. There's no going back, only ahead. Tears welled up in her eyes. The stranger on the train. Had it really been him? Had the old man somehow known her mother? Or was this all just a strange coincidence? Amelia would never know the truth. But one thing was certain. That brief encounter had changed her life, just as it had changed her mother's. And as she moved forward into her own future, she carried those words with her, trusting the journey ahead, just as the old man had told her to.